this, right?
Yeah, if we like the topic.
I think so.
Are we good with
Makes
that?
me live. I hope you like the topic.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, I guess we're good. So, what episode is this? Is this episode 9?
Something like that. I don't know.
We're getting pretty high up there, guys. Yeah, so, what's up? My name's Wyatt. We have a new guest on the show. His name is Mike O'Leary. He's an open shooter, kick-ass open shooter from Idaho. Want to tell him who you are, Mike?
I think you pretty much just said it. Yeah, Mike O'Leary up here from Boise, Idaho. Shoot with Eric and Kenny a lot on the local matches here. And just started shooting open. What was it? I shot my first open match at Area 1 last year. And ever since then, I've ran with it. I love it. It's a good time. So that's pretty much. I was shooting limited before, pretty much the whole time since I started. I think it was March of 2014 when I started USPSA, and didn't take me long to switch over to open. I guess just over a year, but kind of did it initially just for vision reasons. It was pretty tough for me to see the iron sights and all the time on near and far targets, so I went to the dot and haven't looked back since. I'm pretty sure I'll do it at some point, but all the special matches, single stack, low cap matches, things like that there's no other choice to shoot. I love the 1911 Parma match and things like that, but other than that, it's going to be open for everything.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's good. What do you want to talk about, Wyatt, today?
So what I was thinking that we could talk about was wide transitions, because me and Juani had a little bit of a disagreement, and I thought it'd be kind of interesting to talk about the different kinds of things that we all do for them, if you guys would want to do that. So basically, the idea is that there's 2 different wide transitions. Well, maybe 3 if you consider it. But there's 90-degree transitions, there's 180-degree transitions, and then there's reloads between the 2 of them. Right? That's kind of what we discussed a little bit.
I guess.
You guys with me there? I mean, what is just that basic concept, right?
Yeah, but Mike shoots open, so we won't have anything to do with reloads.
Right. Maybe we could just stick to transitions right there. That'll make sense. But what we were talking about was how much we bring the gun in to do those wide transitions, because we all run heavy guns, right? So my guns run 47 ounces or 46 ounces or something. Juani's gun's about the same weight. I think Mike's gun's I don't know. Aren't your guys' open guns super freaking heavy?
I think it's just at 40 ounces unloaded.
Yeah, so I mean, it's still pretty heavy. And then Kenny's gun's probably pushing.
Hey, 43 is the limit in my division. Mine weighs 42.8, so I'm good.
Yeah, but I mean, we're all pretty much running 3-pound guns, 4-pound guns.
Yeah.
So the idea is that obviously you want to bring the gun in so you're not creating that much momentum, right?
For me.
So the discussion is, how much do you bring the gun in? What distance do you bring the gun in?
But I don't think the weight of the gun matters really, because I mean, for me, weight of the gun never matters because I want to develop uniform technique. So whether I'm using a Glock, whether 10 folio or open gun, I basically use the same technique because I don't want to change every time I change my gun. And what I explained to Wyatt about wide transition was basically if it was over 90 degree and to 180, I said the gun is supposed to travel to the next target in a straight line. So when I started shooting, my tendency for wide transition was I would swing the gun so the gun will draw a circle. So my movement of the transition was circling. So that was not an efficient way to do. And then I started changing my technique to bringing the gun in to transition for wide transitions, such as 90 to 180. Because I saw these YouTube videos, of course. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. And then this guy was explaining anything over 90 degrees, you're supposed to bring the gun in and then punch it back out to the target. And then I started doing that, and then I started watching another YouTube videos of world champions. And then I started listening to their podcasts, listening to their live show interviews and stuff. And then I came up with an idea that bringing the gun in is not the focus of transition, but the focus of transition has to be being efficient. So how to be efficient was the gun moving straight to the target. So basically, it's not moving, it's not circling around to the target, or it's not coming back in and out like a two lines, right? If you look at the triangle, that's what I explained. There's base and height, and then there's hypotenuse. And when I was doing 90 transition, I was not, it was not really efficient to bring the gun all the way into your chest and punch it back out if it was 90 degree, because I could move the gun straight to the target, which is hypotenuse part of the triangle. And if I pull the gun in and out, it's basically base and then height, right? So according to who's that guy, Pythagorean theorem, it's longer than hypotenuse. It's longer than gun moving to the target straight. So my mindset after that changed. If it's 90 degree, I wouldn't have to really bring the gun in because 90 degree is really not wide. So it doesn't need a lot of momentum. There is not much momentum than 180 degree, if that makes sense. And also, if it's 180 degree, the straight line is pulling the gun back in and punching that out again, because the target is left and the right. So basically, that's what my theory was on wide transition. You're supposed to do it efficiently, and in order to do it efficiently, you're supposed to draw a straight line to the target. Your gun moves straight to the target, not circling around, or not you're punching in back out if it's unnecessary.
Okay. So what do you think of this whole thing, Mike? You follow what we're talking about?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty much an in the moment guy. I don't think much about it going into a stage. Of course, all of them are different. If I'm standing in one spot where there's multiple rays you can get from one spot, you got a divider and you got to lean a little left and right. I do bring the gun in a lot. I watch my videos a lot and I learn a lot from them. But even when I'm just moving, a foot and making a transition on something long, or even from here and then making not quite a 180, but a pretty wide transition, that gun comes in and then I push right back out to it the second I make that turn on a transition like that. So I'd say I pretty much drop that gun just barely enough to see over it so I have good vision, and then the second I pretty much start seeing that target, I'm thrusting out to it. But like I said, when I drop that gun down and in, it's maybe 4 or 5 inches is all it's coming in. I'm not coming all the way into my chest. So it just depends situation to situation. For me, anyways. A lot of them I'll actually just use my body to turn it. Like I'll bend my left knee, dip my left shoulder, and turn really hard to the right to make a quick transition on something. So.
What about you, Kenny?
I kind of think about it a little bit different. I feel like, so I heard Robbie Latham say something. It must have been in one of his interviews that he did with, I can't remember his name. Who did he do an interview with on the American Warrior Show?
Seaclander.
Right, Seaclander. Or maybe it was from something else, maybe one of his videos on YouTube. But he made the point that it's not how quickly you get from spot to spot. It's how quickly you get from spot to spot ready to shoot. Yeah. So like if you, and this is something that I'm always looking for in my videos. I don't move as fast as other people do. I'm a big fat guy and I got bad knees, but I'm working on it. But I like to shoot. I want to be able to break the shot as soon as I can see the target, or at least have my gun up ready to break the shot as soon as I can see the target. And I kind of think about transitions the same way. I think that, so to Juani's point, right? A straight line in a 90-degree would be to not pull the gun in at all and to just whip the gun straight to the target. Except for, and I'm not even saying that I don't do that. I might even do that. I really don't think about it. But what I will say is, except for, you can move faster, you can pivot faster if your arms are in than if your arms are out, especially when you've got 3 pounds that you're holding when your arms are out. So you can move faster, and also you have to stop that mass instead of represent the gun to the target once you've already turreted towards the target a little bit faster than you would have if you had left the gun out. So it's not how quickly you get the gun to the general vicinity of where it needs to be, it's how quickly you can break the next shot. And I think it's shooter dependent, and I think that it is situationally dependent. I would also say that it's target difficulty dependent. So if I was swinging to a really easy target, I probably wouldn't pull the gun in very much because I'm willing to shoot as the gun is still moving. If I was swinging to a really hard target, if it was like a 90-degree transition to a 20-yard popper or something, there's no way I'm going to leave the gun out there because by the time it gets there, I will have lost. I'm not going to be tracking it anymore. Like your eyes are going to whip over and then your hands are going to go, and then you're going to have to wait for the gun to stabilize, find the front sight again, and pull the trigger. Whereas when you pull your hands in a little bit and push back out, it almost becomes like the last step of a draw. Whereas the last step of the draw is like you already have the guns out of the holster, your hands are both on the gun, and you're just about to present and push back out. And that's something that we all practice a whole lot. So once my eyes are already on something, and I'm generally facing that direction, and I have 2 hands on the gun and it's about chest height, I can push out to that target and stabilize on it very quickly because we practice that all the time. So I would say that I probably have a tendency to pull the gun in more than it sounds like Juani does, but it's, again, situationally dependent. There's no way I would do it to an easy target because you don't need the gun to be very stable on an easy target. That would be my answer.
Okay. I'm with you on all of this, and I think I'm going to illustrate what Juani's talking about real quick because it was kind of confusing for me to understand what he was talking about. So I'll just do a quick drawing of what this is. So we've got the shooter right here. Okay.
You got the crayons out?
Yeah, I know. I got my crayons. I'm a little child. Okay, so you got the shooter right here. If we were to transition from here to here, let's just pretend that his arms are reaching that far, like 20 feet. Superman. If he was to go in an arc, that's the distance that he's covering, okay? But if he brings the gun in a little bit, he's now only covering this distance. That's what you're talking about, right, Juani? I know this is a bad drawing, but this is kind of the example that he's talking about.
Yes,
so he's not bringing the gun in to here and then pushing back out. He's just bringing the gun in a little bit and then directly transitioning. At least that's kind of what I got out of that idea that we were trying to get out of this. So I kind of do it a little differently, and the only reason I know this is my dad and I have tested it a few times in dry fire. But from what I found, even moving to an open target, like a really close open target, it's like you were talking about, Kenny. Have you ever heard of a guy named Travis Haley?
Yeah.
Okay, so him and Ron Avery run a lot of videos of like body mechanics and how you can use your body to speed up transitions and stuff like that. They talk a lot about using your knees. So what I found is, for me, even on an open target, I can bring the gun in and then use my knees to transition out to it, and then I can pull the trigger as I'm presenting. Does that make sense? So, like, you know how when you're drawing, I mean, maybe 1911 guys don't do it as much, but when I'm double actioning, I'm like prepping the trigger, or I know that the shots are going to go there on a close target. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah. So I found that when I move my legs also, and I propel my knees into that, I can be pressing out and shooting at the same time to not have to get a perfect sight picture. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
it makes perfect.
That's the only difference is I bring the gun in maybe from here, not from like chest 1, from like, who's that guy, Funker Tactical? You know what I'm talking about? That dude? He like brings it to chest 1, but I'm bringing it to like about here, and then I'm bringing it in about 10 inches or so.
That's what I was trying to articulate that I tend to do as well, because I feel like you can move your body slightly faster, and then you're presenting the gun to the target in a way that you're very familiar with and that you basically do all the time.
Yep.
So it comes back to the whole consistency thing. It's like every time you make a wide transition, you are presenting the gun the same way. The only time that I would say that I wouldn't do that is like, let's imagine you've got like not really a port that you have to shoot through, but a gap, right? Like a wall that runs straight down range and a wall that runs, straight to the left. And you're shooting some steel, and then your very last target is a piece of paper that is basically directly down to your left, right? Does that make sense? You've got like steel, 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 and then basically a 90 transition to like a very close target. There's no way I'm going to bring the gun in for that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because you don't need to. Because if that is, in my head, I see like a 3 or 4 yard target. You know what I mean? And it's like, even if you broke the first shot, even if you swung over with your hands out and you broke the first shot as you felt like you might have been swinging past it, if you're calling your shots and watching your sights, you'll either see a miss or a delta or something as you swung past it and pick it up in a 15th or a 20th, or you will have gotten lucky, and maybe not lucky, but you will have been able to shave that 15th or 20th off of your time because it just worked out that way. But like I said, I wouldn't ever do that to a hard target, because if you called that miss, you're trying to shave that 20th, right? But you call that miss because you overswing a hard target, your pickup shot now on a hard target, say 20-yard steel or something, is probably going to be, a 50 or a 60 or a 70 or whatever it is going to be for you on a hard shot, and you should have just stabilized the gun before, even if it's a half second slower, hopefully less than a half second slower, because then that throws the math off, and hit what you were aiming at first time.
Okay, so I just want to introduce why I think my transition this way. I think I need to say this to make you understand why I'm saying this. So at Nationals, I compared my video footage with Ben Steger, JJ Rakaza, Alex Good, all the top guys. This stage, I don't remember what stage it was. Maybe it was like 18, 19, something like that. So there was this shooting part on the left side. You run to the wall and a port, and there's targets on the left side of the wall. And you go there, and there's this maybe a 3-5 feet amount of shooting area you can stand. But I was so close to the wall, and when I transitioned wall to the port, I had to bring the gun in all the way in, and then move back out and punch the gun into the port. So, and I saw other guys doing, like national champion doing it. How he would do it is he would stay further back from the wall. So when he transitioned from the left side of the wall to the port, he wouldn't get the gun into the port or anything. He would just transition naturally in a straight line. He wouldn't pull the gun back in and punch it out because he had enough room in between the wall and himself. But for me, I was so close to the wall, I didn't calculate I was gonna, move the gun in straight line. So over there, I lost like 0.23 seconds, maybe more than that. And over there, I started thinking, wait, why did I lose like 2 seconds comparing to national champion? And when I looked at the video, I was doing that. I was bringing the gun in and punching back out when it's not necessary. If I stayed back a little bit further back from the wall, I could just transition straight to the target and to the port. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I kind of think of that as being short-sighted in a stage plan, which is not to say that I haven't done it 1,000 times, but it's like, hey, so where's the easiest place to shoot this target from, or this array from? Okay, it's buried in this corner. Okay, cool. That's the easiest place to shoot those targets from. But does it hurt the rest of the stage if you choose to shoot those from the easiest place to shoot those? Is it going to affect you on other targets, or do you have to move too much? You know what I mean? So obviously it's something that you diagnosed right away, and you saw like, oh, it shouldn't have gone that deep into that spot. But sometimes, we had a stage that we shot at the last match that was a hard lean. We started at the back of like this diamond-shaped box, and it was a hard lean to the left, and there were 2 mini poppers with a no-shoot behind it, which I just love it. And what I saw was that from the back position, you could lean out really, really hard and take those shots, but you had to be leaning pretty pretty dang hard. Maybe if I had a dot, I would have been able to do it, or like been comfortable doing it. But I had to move forward on those about halfway up to be able to lean out comfortably to shoot those mini poppers without whacking the no shoots. And I really struggled with that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to move forward because I'm like, this is wasted movement. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, if it saves you 10 points for a no shoot, it's not wasted movement. But that's kind of like the, you know, like you don't want to do, it's like in USPSA, because it's so freeform, you don't want to do anything that, like the bare minimum amount of everything. Bare minimum amount of time it takes to do anything. Bare minimum amount of movement it takes to do anything. It's all about efficiency. People that win are super efficient. They may or may not be the fastest runner or shooter, but they don't waste time.
Well, I think
any movement.
That's a lot what Mike's really good at. Like, I've watched a lot of his videos, especially like compared to Kincaid and those guys. At least at Utah, when I was watching him, every time I would go deep into a port because I thought I had to do that, Mike shot the whole thing from like the starting position. Never had to go to any of the other positions, and then he shoots the stage like 8 seconds, 9 seconds faster than me. And I'm like, why did he? And so I just figured the solution to getting faster is just squat up with Mike and then just see where he's going to go on each spot and then just take him further back. Just do standing loads. I mean, don't worry about it.
Carry optics.
Exactly. And minor. You know, that'd be really fun.
Welfare optics.
Exactly.
Welfare optics. I like that.
But I did kind of have a question for Mike. So you have a dot, so you're able to see the dot a lot easier on these kind of targets. Mm-hmm. What do you notice when if you were to transition directly or bring the gun in? Is there any?
I watch video, and when I keep the gun up and make a turn, I'm always slower. And like Kenny said, it's all about efficiency. And I always bring the gun down, and sometimes almost to a fault, I think. Even when I'm just going off a target that, like the swinger, the last match we shot, I ran over to the right side of the stage, and I came around the barrel, gun up, and I thought it was going to be there, and it wasn't. So there was 2 targets far out, and one had a hard cover and one was open. So instead of waiting that extra, probably 0.2 of a second to wait for it to come in, my mind said go to the other one. And when I watched that video, I dropped the gun down and then came back up. And why did I do that? I don't know. So, like I said, a lot of what I'm doing, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just letting myself go and then critiquing it later and learning from that. So the next time I go out, so I'm gonna be thinking about this next time I'm out. I did not have to drop that gun. It was a very minimal movement. Not only did I drop the gun, I also moved my feet to shoot something that I could have easily shot and not moved. So something I got to work on.
Something I noticed about efficiency, that I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast or not, but one of the things that at Nationals, when I was watching the Super Squad, the limited Nationals, that every single one of them did, was they all started every stage in a very comfortable shooting position, pretty much standing mostly straight up, you know, usually with their you know, dominant foot back a little bit. Like we all wish we could stand. Like how are you going to stand when you do a bill drill or something, you know? But once they moved the first time and they got into kind of a low dynamic stance, they never popped up out of that stance because it takes time. It takes time to pop up out of that stance, and it takes time to then get out of your now standing up stance to squat back down, to start running again, to stop. You don't do any of that stuff standing straight up. That's something that I see in my videos that I'm trying really, really hard to stop doing, and it's really hard because it's so much more comfortable to shoot standing straight up. Then like you know, you come into some position, like you do the baby steps and you kind of you know, slow yourself to a stop and you're kind of in this crouch position, and it's so much easier to take like a half a second more and just kind of stand up or stand most of the way up to start shooting, but it's a half second every time, and then every time you leave, you know, it's another however long it takes. So just not that it's a transition thing, but it's an efficiency thing that I saw every single Super Squad guy do. And I will say the 2 people that I saw that did it the most noticeably, that it was like you can tell that they're like actively thinking about it. They were like Spider-Man low the whole time, was Savigny and Vogel, and they got first and second at this particular match. But both of them, when they shot, it was like when they dropped down and started moving, they stayed in that low dynamic position the whole time. They never stood back up. Because it's just, even if it's a, 0.2 of a second, it's still 0.2 of a second.
Yep. Well, that brings us to our next topic, which is looking at the next big match you're going to shoot. What's the one thing you're working on right now? And so it was kind of funny because Kenny's talking about that. And one thing my dad and I noticed, and at least Ron Avery does, so my dad's taking a Ron Avery class, a little bit of background knowledge. But anyways, one thing my dad and I do is when we get into a position, what I think Kenny's talking about is normally when you're shooting, you want to be as low as possible to keep your center of gravity lower. But the problem is when you come into a shooting position, you raise your center of gravity, typically. Like, that's just an unconscious thing that happens is you raise your center of gravity. And so what we worked on today was 10-yard, basically ladders between each other. So like fat guys running around in the basement, 10-yard ladders with a gun, and working on keeping our body position low when we're entering. Just because Area 2 has such long distances between running, and so is Area 1. So that was kind of just something small that we were going to work on.
Yeah.
What about
Same
you, Ken?
here.
What was the question?
Next match you're shooting and what you're working on specifically.
The next big match I'm shooting is berries. And I'm still trying to, this is so bushly, but I'm still trying to figure out what gun I'm going to shoot. So I shoot a 40 cal Trojan, which is major, but we're about to all steel. So it's a small thing, but I still have to decide whether or not I'm going to borrow some 10-round magazines from Eric, because he's got some that'll fit in the gun, and do like a 40 minor load, and just shoot my own gun, because then it's my own gun. It might be a little bit more recoily than 9mm, but not really, not too much. Or if I'm going to borrow somebody's 9mm single stack and shoot that. But what will I work on, like, in the coming weeks before the berries match? Not screwing up, because I feel like it's a steel match, man. It's like, it's all about your mistakes, you know? Like, especially when you're shooting in the division that I'm going to be shooting, single stack, you're not going to hose. There's no hosing. It's all steel. Everything is steel. So some it's going to be bigger and closer, and you're going to shoot a little bit faster, but all of it is going to come down to execution, which is good, because that's usually what I'm, pretty good at. But I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to work on the same stuff I always do. I'm just convinced, damn it, that if I keep practicing quality, that I'll just get faster at it. Every time I practice speed, I get faster, and then I go to the range, and I get crappy grip on the gun, and do botched reloads every single time. And every time I just practice quality, my reloads and draws drop by hundredths. But, that's cool. I got time.
Yeah. Hey. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to be working on, I find that when I concentrate on movement, the shooting just takes care of itself. The matches that I do best in, that I feel like, that just feel the best overall, that I get the best hits in, that I have no mics, no penalties, are the ones where I'm thinking purely about movement. How to get into a position, do I back up 2 steps here when I make that almost 180 degree turn to take that other target behind the wall, and then I'm backing up, and the second I break that last shot, I'm turning as I'm doing a mag change, 2 steps, and I'm up in the next position. When I'm thinking about that, my mind's not on shooting, which is a good thing for me. If I'm not thinking about pulling that trigger in sight picture, I shoot a lot better. So touching on what Kenny was talking about, and you touched on too, why it was coming in low into a position. Somebody watched my last video and mentioned that to me. You come into a position lower with a wider stance and your knees slightly bent. Not only are you going to get on target faster because you have more control over the gun coming into the position, but you're going to be able to explode out of that position and move faster because you can transfer weight. You're already down. Every time that I see myself standing up in a position, I always do that. I don't know, I call it the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You pretty much do this thing where your hips move and your whole upper body's going this way, and you need to be going that way. So I really want to work on that, just staying low, knees bent, and always ready to move no matter what. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Okay, Wyatt. Camera's on you, bro.
Juani, you're up, bro. You're it.
I'm the technician. Your face is on. Okay, I'll go. So yeah, I think I talked about it last podcast. It's about grip. So when I do shooting on the move or when it's a very awkward position, I tend to release my grip. My grip is not as firm. So I've been practicing, focusing on getting a better grip, and also when I had a chance to do live fire, I neglected right hand, one hand shooting all the time. Last year, my one hand shooting was, I could say, fairly accurate, but split time was horrible. My split time was like point 0.5, point 0.7, not point 0.7, I think point 0.5, point 0.6, because I wanted to make no penalties shooting one-handed, but I wanted to be accurate. So recoil control was horrible. So I went to the range. I spent about 300 rounds on one-hand shooting alone, and then I figured I can shoot faster if I grip harder. So when I shoot both hands freestyle, I tend to use my left hand really strong and my right hand relatively relaxed. So downside for that was when I shot one hand shooting, right hand shooting was still really relaxed. And there was a problem for my recoil control. And also for my left hand shooting, I wanted to be accurate and trigger control was horrible when I grip really hard. So I wanted to be relaxed on both ones. So I had good accuracy but horrible speed. So now I'm gripping really hard. I'm learning how to pull the trigger straight back with really strong grip with both strong hand and weak hand. And it's been working pretty good. But then downside was I tried freestyle reload one-hand shooting. And then there was another problem. When I did reload and then presented with my one hand, either strong or weak hand, I loosened my grip again. So I'm fixing that. And a couple of days ago, I shot at a local indoor match. And then I was surprised how sight doesn't go up as high now. And the ammo is the same, everything is the same, but the sight is not jumping as high because I developed my stronger grip over the winter time. But then it may be the powder. My powder is so weird. In wintertime, it's so hot. In summertime, it's not hot. So it's not summer yet, but it's getting warmer. So yeah, all about grip this time.
Right on. Well, cool. That was kind of all the show that I had kind of an idea for. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, what do you work on?
Oh, didn't I already say that? Movement?
Oh, okay.
Did I already say that? Did anyone else catch that, or did I not say it?
Yeah, you started it.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Cool.
Right.
Well, I guess we'll sign off and see you guys next week or something like that.
All right.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe we can do one at like Area 2 or Area 1. That'd be kind of cool. Or like berries where we're all shooting that, you know? Or
You
most of
shoot
us.
berries too, Mike?
Yes, I'm shooting berries, and Area 2 are my next two big ones.
Area 2's soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
March. Yeah, March what, 6th and the 8th? Or
It's 2nd to the 6th.
yeah, 2nd to the 6th.
So like what, 5 weeks out or so?
Yep.
Yeah.
Get ready. That's awesome.
Cutting off the show.